Nikki, I'm coming. I'm trying to come. God damn it. I mean, wait, am I allowed to say that? Said it.
Hey,
Hi, Juanetta. Hi, how are you?
I got friends.
You got friends? Oh, minion.
Minions.
Always good to have a minion or two. I've been trying to hire some for a long time, but I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay them. So I have to show off my favorite gift that I've gotten in a long time. And I love gifts. Just so you know, the way to my heart is presents, always. Check this out. I drew
I
the
think the
tears of my enemies. Isn't that the best? Oh, yeah, it's from Cella. And P.S., my AirPods are not working today, so this is what we get. But I love that mug. That mug is my everything.
that plane coming in for a landing for you?
Pardon?
That plane coming in for a landing for you?
Yeah, probably to take me away. It's been a crazy day. They're like, there she is. I'll hide behind my mug. Anyway,
I'm gonna go turn my light on, but I'm still here because all of a
please.
sudden the sun went down.
Yeah, we've got the same thing happening here, and I appreciate our special guest star, the Minion. I'm glad we just had that moment to spend together. So, my heart is feeling full, very full. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for
Oh,
ThoughtFLOW. Yeah, we are live. We are so live. We've been live for about a minute and a half. So welcome. Welcome, Nikki, and welcome all of you. Nikki and I have been breaking our necks this week, by the way. Misty, Lynne, Cauthen, #1 chats a lot. Nikki Taylor Stewart, also #1 chats a lot. And no one else is allowed to play. So that's it, other than the Minion. But yeah, so we've been really crazy this week. I know I said on Sunday after the Thought Bomb that we were going to be on all week doing promos. Hello, Kimmy. But alas, it didn't really happen. And this is what happens when your week blows up. You have to prioritize. And it's not that this wasn't a priority, it was that you didn't want to hear from either one of us at like midnight. So great apologies, but so happy to have you guys here with us today. Nikki and I, as always, have a lot to say. And today we are talking about wants, needs.
yep.
What do we want? What do we need? Do we want and need it? Or is this just something we tell ourselves because it's easy, or it's habit, or it's just something to do? We are breaking all of that stuff down today. So let's get started. ThoughtFLOW Volume 5. Well, yeah, the Thought Bomb is something different. So it's definitely Volume 5.
Yeah, this is.
Yes. So
Um,
let's go, Nikki. What's up? What are you thinking today?
what am I thinking? So it's a new month, and so we want to broaden our conversation. And I started thinking about, what do you do after you're all resilient? You got your utility belt and you're all resilient.
You're drinking tears. Yes.
I started thinking about stepping into my being, because so much of what's going on planet Earth, it really is planet Earth. You see that, guys? I got the gun show going. I'm sorry.
This episode is brought to you by Slap Happy. We ain't got no sleep, so we might as well bring you down the rabbit hole with us. All right.
Stepping, after you get all resiliency, what do you do with that? You have to step into your being. And what does that mean? What does that mean, stepping into your being? So I had an encounter, and someone introduced me to Maslow's hierarchy of being. Stuff.
Needs.
Needs. There we go. For those of you who don't know me, I remember very little from the previous 30 seconds.
Oh, it's gonna be a rough one today, guys. I hope you're with us.
It really struck me, and it really struck me for the moment in time that it was being introduced to me. But also, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a little life book. Like you just carry around, and you're like, am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? Oh, that's why this whole other thing is not working, because I skipped some steps. And we wanted to frame that in our conversations for this next month. I'm not stealing. We're not stealing from you, Mr. Maslow.
We are
honoring
you.
Yes, we are honoring you. And so please don't sue me because I don't have any money. If you want my GMC Acadia, go ahead, but it is a lease. But we wanted to frame this month in that, and I wanted to take it a step further as tools to step into your being, step into staying on track, staying on your path, and designing your path so that the path that you move forward with is intentional. And it doesn't mean that it has to, I'm going to write this down, this is how I'm moving forward, and it's never going to, we're not going to change at all. No, but it's creating a scaffolding and moving forward within that framework. And one of the things that I found really interesting was, which I think that we often try, I will speak for myself, I often try to move forward when my basic needs haven't been met. You know, that's a thing. And, you know, we all laugh. Like Misty not having any sleep. But you kind of need sleep. Oh, look, she came back so refreshed. Sleep. You need food. You need shelter. You need clothing. And
Safety.
unless, of course, Misty is going without pants. You need...
Sometimes you got to air out the cheeks, my friend. I mean, don't hate, congratulate. I will air out my cheeks at any time. Thank you. They're not little cheeks. They're substantial cheeks. Stop it. So, oh my God. Next time I see you, I'm going to kick you right in the kneecaps.
So my question is, I have my notes here because this was like really, not that the other conversation wasn't like sparking my interest, but this was really sparking my interest because of everything that's going on globally. But I think for some of us, we weren't addressing some of these really, really necessary needs prior to the pandemic. One of my things is, yes, I'm reading off my notes, identifying our access to and acceptance of our needs. And the reason that I say acceptance, it's easy to say, yes, I need food. Yes, I need shelter. Yes, I need clothing. Yes, I need sleep. However, how many of us go multiple days with inadequate amounts of sleep? Or deciding or convincing ourselves that, oh, it's totally fine that I go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 5.
I'm a short sleeper. Damn it. Why are you calling me out like this?
Oh, and the thing that I found interesting was my cousin, whom I love dearly, her prescription to me for my MS was she astrologically charts people, and she's actually a therapist, but she's actually my cousin. She said there are 24 hours in a day, and you need to divide those amongst your work, play, and sleep. And you know, in my mind, of course, I went to, who the heck has 8 hours to play? Who? Oh, that's right, kids. So, but it wasn't, it was play as in whatever that leisure time was for you, whatever that, you know, your fun time or however you wanted that time to be. And that just struck me. And I was like, because we will take 12 hours in a minute and be like, no, that's work. That's work. And
Yes.
then we're watching a movie, we're still working. And then we fall asleep with the laptop and the TV running. I'm like, okay, I got my sleep. I got my 4 hours. um, but are we really doing what we need? Or have we created an environment of accepting that this is okay and we can get by?
A false need. Because I think, and as a card carrying workaholic, I can own this about myself. You know, when I get into a work Jones, I will work. I will work on work. I will work on the idea of working on what work will look like when I'm working. I will just work myself until I get to a point where, 2, 3 days later, I can't work.
Right.
My brain has left the building, and I know it's unhealthy. I've actually gotten better, which is terrifying. But it's been a major problem for me, and creating that space where I can be honest with myself and say, does this work? One, is it really work? Does it really need to be done right now? And
Mm-hmm.
two, if it isn't done right now, are there true repercussions to that? Or am I just kind of getting myself into a lather over something that really isn't a thing? And Doug, yes, we get along so well in this way. Um, but this is a problematic thing because other parts of you start to break down
Right.
in quest for whatever it is. I mean, we rationalize it. Well, it's work. There's worse things we could be doing. We could be binging on the Real Housewives, whatever it is.
Right.
But at the same time, it's a false coping mechanism.
Yeah, for sure. And so then when we really go back and we look at needs, um, food, shelter, clothing. I'm looking at my cheat sheet. Food, shelter, clothing, water, air. Thing, right? Water, air. Um, Thank God that air is free. Um, in our professional lives, I kind of view air as the space between myself and others.
Mm, I like
Mm,
that.
you like that?
That minion whispered that to you, didn't he?
He's there with his banana. Space between myself and others, because when you own a business, you give and give and give and give and give and give and give, and there's always something that has to be done unless you put that space, that air between yourself and others.
Yeah.
And that could be, and not just from a work perspective, that could also be from your family.
Mm-hmm.
I have taken to telling my children are not babies. I have taken to telling my children, you are being too needy right now. And when I first started saying it, they would look at me like, well, I'm clutches pearls, mommy. And I'm like, is that really a question for me? Or can you take a moment? Did you take a moment to try to figure that out for yourself? And putting that space between us, not because I'm going to leave my kids hanging out to dry, but it's like, really? You can't find the cleaning towels? You can't find the cleaning towels. So that's how I started viewing air, was the space that I'm putting myself between myself and others, so that I have time to breathe. Like, don't breathe my air.
Back off.
Yeah. So, and then just another way of creating, however that has to happen for you, right? How you have to create a buffer between yourself and others. And buffers aren't bad to me. Like, I don't feel like a buffer is bad. Like when we get in our car, we have a bumper. Like, the bumper is there for a reason. It's
Sure.
there, that framework in our cars, that's our space.
Right. Right. And it comes back to, that's your boundary.
Yes.
Especially when you're in a business like ours, but whether you're in a business or you have family or whatever it is, you're active in your community group, there is a propensity for, I'll say me, but I really mean us, to put ourselves out there in a way that is, well, I have the capability of bringing this, so I'm going to bring all of this to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't establish those borders, and very often it's not establishing borders for other people not to cross. These borders, the borders that you're talking about, are borders that you don't cross.
Right.
I am saying I am leaving work at 5 p.m. and that is it. If I do not leave this workplace at 5 p.m., I'm going to be here until midnight.
Right.
Well, Harrison just came out and my mom just walked over and I was just like, wow, because I never see anybody anymore because my child has abandoned me. And my mother's socially distancing. So, they put up borders to keep me out. Heartbreaking. Anyway, so yeah, it's about establishing, and I think it's important to be able to tell yourself which is a border that I need to stay behind, and then which is a border that I need to hold others on the other side of. Because if we don't delineate between the two, we blur them. And if we blur them, it's too hard to maintain those borders or bumpers, as you were saying.
And, we have another rule in our house, and it was starting to get out of hand because everybody was home all the time. 9 o'clock is adult time. And my kids don't necessarily have to go to bed, but 9 o'clock.
Adult time?
No, we go a little bit later, but adult time, because if we didn't establish that, the kids never go away. And I'm home, my guy gets to go out and like play with fire and electricity and, climb stuff and, but I'm home. And so the kids are always circling like vultures. And they'll be like, if they see the Zoom go off, Mom, are you done teaching? And I'm like, no, I have to go to the bathroom.
I love you. Mwah. Look at this face. Look at this face. What was that?
He's such a cutie.
No, he's the cutest ever.
Cutest ever.
Bye. I'll talk to you later.
So, would that be like a coat? Cutest of all time, a coat. You're a coat.
That's right. He's the coat. Don't tell him though, because he'll be looking in the mirror all damn night. Yeah, he might have come by that honestly too. Anyway, as you were saying,
we have a rule. We have a rule that our kids can only be on the second floor if they're eating, because otherwise our living room would be trashed, and it's now my workspace. And 9 o'clock is adult time, because there has to be that. I don't want to censor my conversation. Carrie drops F-bombs like they're prepositions. And it's just about being able to have conversations that don't have to be filtered and don't have to be censored, and you can be, free to be yourself. And if we want to sit and cuddle without like 4 kids in between us, and somebody's like, Mom, look at this on YouTube. So we just made a rule, 9 o'clock, it's adult time. If you want to run wild in the street, play in traffic, if you want to climb a tree, but on the second floor, 9 o'clock is adult time. And it was creating that space because they don't go away. And yes, Stacey.
Yes, absolutely.
And setting that boundary. And so we now hear them, like looking at the clock, and they're like, okay, but and I'm like, they're like taking like their last freaking 30 seconds. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, seriously? It's 8:59. So again, creating air, creating space, breathable space that we can claim as our own. And it's not I love my kids to death. I do, but they're kids.
Amen. And this is exactly why I think trap doors should be installed in every home. You should just like Chutes and Ladders, man. That guy was onto something. Why we don't have homes built like this is beyond me. But I mean, if Harrison was yapping to me and he was little and I could just push the button right into the basement, I would do it. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's not even just for us that we have these boundaries, especially with children. Children and clients. So if you are one of my clients, I'm not saying that you are a child right now. I am saying I'm more referring to the boundary aspect.
Yes.
We
Yes.
have to establish the rules, the rules, the boundaries, the framework immediately in a situation, especially as business owners, because as the owner, you have to be fair and equitable, right?
Mm-hmm.
To yourself and to your customers. And so
Mm-hmm.
if we are not working those boundaries in a fair and equitable way, guess what happens? This is how you get misunderstandings, you get hurt feelings, you get drama. And who needs any more drama? This is what happens when I have drama.
So, it's really interesting. My next thing that I wrote, are we in this space? Are we in the spaces that are providing us with what we need to be successful? I meant literally and figuratively.
Yes.
Are we creating the spaces, our home environments, if we're teaching from home virtually? Are we in a space that is suited what we're doing? But then also, are we creating the space around us that is allowing us to be successful? I just had the bird poop conversation with my kids because there's a
Mabel up to no good.
no Mabel's owner, my stepson. Mabel's cage is.
Wait. We should just fill this in really quick for those of you who don't know, who are just turning in for the first time, or maybe you missed the Mabel conversation. My dear friend Nikki here, her son, but she by default, because this is what happens when you have children and they don't believe in boundaries, you inherit pets. And is it your stepson or your son?
Stepson.
They're all the same. It doesn't matter. All of your children, I'm just saying. So Mabel is his bird. And when she teaches Pilates, Mabel is an active participant in the Pilates lessons. So, Mabel might be Nikki might be there, legs up in the air. She's doing Pilates. And Mabel's like perched right there. So Mabel is a very active part of their family. So when we are talking about Mabel, this is not a person with an unfortunate name. This is a bird. So continue.
And Mabel is a cocktail, so she's really smart. She's really, really smart. And, like Mabel will like side eye me sometimes. Oh, Mabel doesn't like it when there's just one person. When I'm just teaching one person, that's not enough. So she'll just be like, she likes the groups. And so, yes. So that's why you oftentimes see her on Sundays just all in it. She likes it when the screen looks like the Brady Bunch and she's showing out. But yeah, if it's just one person, she's like, that's not enough to garner my attention.
Even the bird in the ass. I mean, like, how does this happen? Everybody is needy. Go ahead. Sorry.
So Mabel's house is huge. Her cage is huge. And birds are clean creatures. And so it's a rule, Mabel's cage has to be cleaned minimum once a week. Except we apparently are still teaching 12 and 13-year-olds what once a week means. And so I'm like, okay, guys, this is my teaching space. I realize I commandeered the living room, which is on the second floor. So it's kind of our space anyway.
Tricky.
But yeah, her cage is a hot mess right now. And I was lighting into it. Except there's only 2 boys home right now. So we didn't get the full effect. And I'm going to digress for a minute because we have 2 snakes as well. And Sam is getting bigger. She's a boa. And
of course, because when I pick pets, I want the ones that are likely to be lethal. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
so Sam is now strong enough. If she doesn't have the copper pots, we literally have these metal bowls that sit as weights on top of her cage because she's the top snake cage.
Something wrong with you?
So the copper pots were not put back on the top of the cage. And we were about to do so. Oh, we were making dinner, and Carrie walks in, and he's like, "Sam's out," and I'm like, because I had asked the boys make sure the copper pots go back on because Sam was hungry, and she'd already been all like, so it's search for the snake, and I'm like,
Yeah.
so then I'm just like, I'm hungry. So you need to start cooking. So Kyler sits down and Sam is in between. It goes Sam, Cam, snake, snake, frogs. Sam is on top of the frogs, which have a grate, and she's pissed because they're so close, but she can't get to them. But we found her. But it was like, she was hissing. She was pissed because she was like, y'all ain't feeding me. So I left my cage to go get the frogs, but I can't get to the frogs because they have a cover on them. And she was pissed. Yeah. That's my world. That is my world, which is why reclaiming my space, go ahead, Maxine, I changed it a little bit, is very important.
Dang.
Yeah, that's our home. Yes, we have weapons and reptiles and boys. So
Listen, I love a good weapons story. I mean, always fine with weapons. I think they're important. But, you know,
create a space that is successful for me to be able to do what I need to do, which, Black Baby Jesus, thank you, I'm able to do from home.
well, and this has all of this pandemic business has been, for some of us, it's been a godsend to be stuck at home. And for others, it's been a complete freaking nightmare because they've got little ones at home. They don't know how to manage it. And listen, my child was baby terrorist. They were looking for him, bin Laden, and all his peeps. They were like, let's go get that crazy baby. So I get what you're saying. I really do empathize. This fly is really, sorry. I really do empathize with anybody who has to try to juggle all this stuff. Stop laughing at me. But at the same time, we have to do whatever we can to take care of this psychological need that we have for having the right space, personally, interpersonally, professionally. If we leave any of those pieces out, we can't feel whole. And if we can't feel whole, we can't feel safe. If we don't feel safe, then we are not functioning optimally. And then we're not able to navigate the next steaming pile of whoop ass that comes down through 2020. Because we're dodging bombs every day, it seems like. And some people are faring better than others. And I truly believe it's this level one on this Maslow's hierarchy of needs bit that a lot of people are missing. It's the physiological need for food, safety, all of these things that's compromised. So, and I think boundary setting is a huge, huge part of that.
And I think that how can you be productive? How can you plan when you don't know if you have money to buy food? And I say this because I think the vast majority of us who are watching this and who are partaking on this Facebook Live right now, we have been fortunate enough. I know, I will speak for myself, there was no lag. I went right into a full schedule. Um, we're still able, I mean, we are actually doing well. But I know my cousin, she's not on here tonight, but my cousin, she kind of adopted two families and she just buys them groceries. No questions asked. She asked if you're in Chicago and you've ever heard of Father Flager, is what I want to say. He's very popular on the south side of Chicago and he's a white Irish Catholic priest guy. I hope I'm saying that right. But he's just very giving to the community, and she fortuitously ran into him in a grocery store. Um, I'm going to paint this picture. My cousin is over 6 feet tall. She's stunning. And that's actually what her license plate says. It says stunner. And she's just one of those. Oh, you've seen her, my cousin Jackie. And she just adopted these two families because of where they were in life. Yeah. He really is what a religious figure should be. He's just like, this is what the need is. How can we fill it? There's no dogma. There's no rah rah. Blah 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 blah. It's just, this is what we need. How do we fill it?
Yes.
The grocery
Beautiful.
store said, can you give me two families? Here's my email. Or a family. He ended up sending her two and asked her to he asked her to choose. She said, how do I choose this? How do I choose between two people who need food? So she just adopted these two families and she buys some groceries. She told me I couldn't help her because I had four boys in my house. She's like, girl, you need somebody to adopt your family.
Aw, damn. That's
And
harsh.
so, but no, and so, but that was, she took that and she was like, this is what I can do. I don't want to give money. I don't want to go into someone's house. I don't want to teach anybody's kids. She's like, I make a good living. I can make groceries for people. And she got her gloves and her Clorox and she's like, here you go. She checks in with the mom and she is just she's a very bright spirited person, and she just said yes and she did this thing, and that was the thing that was needed for those families in that moment of time, because they were like, e-learning, I'm trying to get food.
Mm, mm.
you know what the hell, like, I'm just trying to get food for my kids. E-learning, no.
And that's another important point. So, still staying on your point, but taking it a little bit further along. Hey, babe. Um, so there are the needs that we really need. Okay. So these are your basic needs to get by that we were just talking about. But what happens then when we've created this set of needs that really aren't needs, and
Right.
we identify our whole being with those things? And we talked about this before, but just for those of you that haven't been listening since the beginning of our time together, um, think of the influencers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the influencers basically make their living. Everything that they do, everything that they eat, it's all out there. So they have essentially built their lives on, okay, now don't anybody ping me with, I know an influencer of Jesus or something like that. And, this person is not what you're saying. Okay. I don't want to hear about those people. I'm talking about general people here, general influencers. And, when your whole life is built on the superficial, then you've told yourself, I need this. If I don't have my nails done in Smith and Colt nail polish, I might just expire. And how am I going to survive without that? Let's talk about associating needs, small n needs, with big N needs, and how that affects us in terms of the way we process and go through our lives in general.
Smith and Colt, that's like a
It's a
that's
nail polish. It's very nice. It's free of 5 of the 11, I think, deadly chemicals. I don't paint my fingernails either, but as I'm getting older, I think I might start. Probably not. That's a lie. Anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So we've taken and let me finish that thought because I just realized I didn't. We've taken away all of these trappings because now we're trapped. Or well, we're getting back out, but we're all going to be trapped again. Let's be honest. So what happens then to your entire well-being, physical, social, emotional, when your main raison d'etre has been removed?
Well, okay, so we were speaking about this before, and it's my next topic, but I'm gonna just send it back to last week. Whole being versus self-care. Those external things that we have decided make us feel whole versus actually the whole things that make us feel whole. And I wrote this down. Look at me. The choices that we make in terms of what our needs are, Maslow's hierarchy, if our basic needs are food, air, water, shelter, clothing, right? And that's the, if you're familiar with that hierarchy, it's not absent of love. We just haven't gotten there yet.
Right. We'll get.
So, are we just getting by? Are we accepting less out of necessity? Like the pandemic. When I say out of necessity, I mean literally out of necessity.
Like there's no chicken at the grocery store. That's out
Right.
of necessity.
No, the grocery store. Or are we out of habit not being intentional about what we need and asking the universe? I'm big on asking the universe. Or are we not accessing these things for ourselves out of self-neglect because we are catering to others? And I kind of feel like the pandemic kind of shifted people in that way a little bit too. The catering to others. Like for a minute, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this for my kids. I have to do this for my kids. And then like one day I was like, I'm not in 5th grade. And I was like, that's not
and
mine.
I'll never go back, damn it.
I was like, that's not mine. And so I'll repeat my question. Are we just getting by? Are we accepting less? See, if you tell me from the conversation that you, or from the statement that you just made in terms of influencers, I need to have these things. Well, it's a bit shallow. It's a
Yeah.
lot shallow because it's not really what you need. And in that way, you are accepting less.
Well, yeah, but I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Mm-hmm.
Define need. So everybody's needs are different, and you know how I think and you know how I feel about this. But I'm saying, what happens to a person if their needs are defined by their stuff? How does that satisfy? How does that satisfy this bottom level of needs? Sorry, I'm swatting bugs over here. Pardon me.
Well, but then that's, I guess, to me, in my opinion, because there's an alternate me that I'm not going to use their opinion. It's faux. It's that false need. And that's why I think, for those of you who may or may not just be joining us or who didn't see the beginning, we're speaking about, we took our references from Maslow's hierarchy of needs and breaking things down to their basic needs. And that's why we're talking about air, food, water, shelter, clothing. And these are things that not everyone has. And when you talk about someone being able to function, someone being able to not get to their nail polish, but figure out how they can go to a grocery store, be limited to 2 packs of raw meat, but they have 6 people to feed, but the serving that they're buying is really for maybe like 2 or 3 people. It's deciding what is truly a need, and nail polish is not a need. And that's the society that we live in. I'm going to cut. We have decided that we need people to test product for us, give us their opinion, and tell us that this is the product that we need to purchase.
That's where I was going. Yes,
That,
absolutely.
that is an entitled position because it's a product. And that's great if you've been able to make a living out of that. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't require a skill set. I'm not going to say that.
Oh, 100%. It is a job.
But what we're talking about is people being able to make functional decisions because the first level of the hierarchy in terms of the needs are being met and addressed.
Yes.
That's being able to make simple decisions because you can't successfully get to the next level of the hierarchy until those basic functions are met. And I will give you an example. A lot of times in the winter, I used to teach for a charter school for Chicago Public Schools. I taught it before, and it's not a charter school. I forget what it's called, but it's kind of like a charter school. And I was performing arts high school, and all public schools serve breakfast and lunch. They do not close. Public schools do not close for inclement weather. And people are like, oh my gosh, it's so cold outside. Why are they making those babies walk to school? And I was like, because they serve breakfast and lunch.
Yep.
Because some people have to make the choice of being cold or hungry, or cold and hungry.
Right.
And Chicago Public Schools, that is part of the reason why it's such a big deal during a pandemic, where you can say, yes, I'm gonna take my babies and keep them home and not let them, venture out into the world. Everyone doesn't have that option.
Sure.
Because that, and so let's take the inclement weather. You can get your kid to school, and your kid has 2 meals. If you don't, if your whole financial structure is based on that, that's a huge blow to your financial structure if there are 2 days off. Because 2 years ago, there were 2 days where it was like -50.
Which is just not acceptable under and no reason. That weather should be canceled.
In my lily white suburb, they were like, oh no, snow day. And it was not a big deal. It was just not a big deal. And they provided meals for the number of people who needed to have meals, and they gave them an alternate site to go to. But it's a thing when you have thousands of kids in a city to decide to close the school, and now you have taken away a basic need.
Right. Right. And, it's, I'm going to use the P word, privilege. I know we're not supposed to use the P word anymore.
Privilege. You get some privilege.
But yes, everybody's got it but me. Man. No, I mean, what a privilege it is to be able to say, wow, I want my kid to have a snow day, and then they have a snow day, and you don't have to worry about anything else. And granted, snow days are hard for a lot of people. Being a business owner, it's funny, in Pittsburgh, it only seems to snow during morning and evening rush hour. That's it. I mean, it doesn't snow in the middle of the day. It doesn't really snow overnight. It starts snowing 2 hours before you've got to get your ass somewhere. And that's just Pittsburgh weather. And I mean, it could snow in 20 minutes actually here. You just never know what's going to happen. But as a business owner and having a lot of female customers with children, you have washed yourself out. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
You were. Now you're giving us boobs. If you don't like my thoughts, that's fine. But if you could just keep your breasts out of it, I just don't really feel like that is where we're trying to go with this conversation. But it hurts business. It was a few years ago. where it snowed during morning rush, and there was either a snow day or a school delay, snow delay every day for 4 weeks.
Yep.
Demolished my month business wise. I mean, it was just terrible because when are my classes, in the morning or the evening? But I didn't have to worry because I could go in later. I could schedule clients at a different time. I had that luxury. So even though it was an inconvenience, my livelihood wasn't affected to a point where it created a massive need in my life. For other people, that sort of shift can be catastrophic. Nearly every workday for a month is a lot, just like the pandemic right now. People thought it was nice to have a couple weeks off, and then people started looking at their bank accounts and saying, oh shit, if this goes on for too much longer, I'm hosed. So having a clear definition of what the needs are, the true needs are, and then being able to navigate through that. And I'm not saying it's a walk through the strawberry patch, but what I am saying is being able to say, all right, you know what? I really, really love my Starbucks. I don't. Their coffee sucks. But this live was not brought to you by Starbucks. But if I had Starbucks, I would drink it out of this mug. Anyway, to be able to say that this really is not a need. This is something that I enjoy. This is something that I like. Maybe I can have it as a treat, but right now I've got to survive. That's a big deal. And that's something that I think we all need to work on. It comes down to self-soothing, right? It comes down to being able to cope and say, I might have to suffer for a second, but all of my fundamental needs are being met. I'm not going to expire at any moment. And I think that's the difference. We have a tendency to get all lathered up over things that we like. They're important to us. We might feel like we need them, small n need, and then conflating those with our capital needs. And that is where we get into trouble. That's when we're affecting other parts of our life. We may be spending in a way that's not advised by any financial advisor anywhere. We may be losing sleep because we know we're putting ourselves into a bad position. We use these artificial needs as coping mechanisms. And I think that is a big problem for a lot of us.
Artificial needs as coping mechanisms. Absolutely.
And I'll tell you this, I'll use this as an example. So as you know, many of you know, I am divorced. Yeah. So, but we had this issue where, and I was working at that time, I was working in media. I was actually doing advertising sales because I moved back to Pittsburgh and not easy to get a job here for a lot of reasons. So I was doing this job that was actually, I would rather set myself on fire than do it again. Seriously, if I couldn't meet any of my needs, and the only way to meet those needs would be to go back to selling media, I would set myself on fire. You would see me running down the street on fire. But that's a different story. So anyway, so my ex-husband and I had this give and take, and he kind of had this idea that, if I made more money than him, it made him sad. And so his way of expressing his sadness was shopping. And then so he would buy, like, I'd come home, he'd be like, look, a big screen. And I'd be like, who the fuck has time to watch television? Like, I'm like in media sales, which is essentially prostitution. And what you're buying a TV? And don't get me wrong, he worked hard. He did okay. But he just couldn't get over the fact that I was making more money than him. So then I was like, well, this is bullshit. I want stuff too. So then we started this tit for tat thing. He's buying big screens. I'm buying fabulous shoes and handbags. Big screens, handbags, fabulous sheets, all this stuff. I wasn't even buying for myself because I didn't even need anything. I needed nothing. So I was buying gifts for other people. I was like, you know what? I was having a rough day. Here, I bought you a fabulous handbag. And, you know, now granted, I was like 24. This marriage didn't last very long. Thank the Lord. But the point of the matter is that my need, I needed to feel better. I needed to feel better about where my hard-earned money was going. And in my mind, rather than just saying, I'm leaving, I waited too long and whatever. Rather than just saying that, I said, you know what? I'm going to match him, and that's going to make me feel better. And that's really stupid, but I was in my 20s.
Okay. But don't you feel like, you know, so because I think that that's a thing with people, right? So I too am divorced. I'm very divorced. My ex firstborn son of a Greek immigrant. Yeah. Oh, and they're Athenian. Let me just throw that in. Didn't you feel like...
Wait, what does that mean? I mean, did they wear togas? Like, because I would be down with a good toga.
Athenians are the ones who think that their shit really doesn't stink. Like literally, they're like listed in like some registry in Greece. Like all the Athenians are, if you're of Athenian descent, you are listed in some registry.
And the registry says your shit doesn't stink? I didn't think you were going to catch that one.
Call it the pedigree. And
thanks for coming, Kevin.
I'm extra divorced. Like I'm extra divorced.
All right,
like,
so when did you get divorced? Like what year?
2015.
And when did you get married?
2005, the night, literally the night the Sox won the thingy. It's not the Super Bowl.
The Super Series.
No, the biggest thing in baseball. The Sox won that night in 2005.
The pennant.
Yes. Wait, what are we saying? Yes, I'm divorced very strongly.
Okay, because I've been divorced much longer, dear. Thank you.
And I'll tell you why. Because I didn't get married. And this is about the need thing. I didn't get married to get divorced. And I know that
World
sounds...
Series.
Yes, thank you, Doug. Thank you. I got...
Thank you.
Sox won 2005. So whatever that date was, yes, that was the night. Because everybody was trying to listen to it during the reception, which was hilarious because they thought I cared and I could have cared less. So
double divorce. Aw, he's throwing it down now.
The reason I say I didn't get married to get divorced was because when we were having our issues and it was coming to light, I was like, no, I have to stay married. I'm like, no, I have to stay married. I need to stay married because that's what you're supposed to do. And it didn't matter that he was on his own agenda. And yes, Misty.
No, I was saying I'm the same way. I was like,
no,
divorce is failure. I don't fail, damn it.
No, I'm like, we got married for a reason. We love each other, right? And I'm like, and we have these two beautiful boys. And I'm like, no. And then I said, this is what I need for my marriage. I said, this is what I need from my marriage. And I was saying it. We're having this conversation and we're drinking wine. And I said, this is what I need from my marriage. His response to me was, well, I like things the way they are. And I was like, oh, okay. And in that moment, I was like, I don't need this. It was not a need. There was no compromise. We were on two different paths, and we had been, but because I had convinced myself that this was a need, I was like, I was going big or going home. And then one day he just said it, and I was like, oh, okay.
And is it interesting, Nikki, because I have to interrupt, sorry, but this is where we are so similar, because the need wasn't to stay married because you wanted to work on it, because you had this overwhelming love for this person, whatever. The need was to not make the mistake. The need was to stay married for marriage's sake. The need was a false need. And you know what? I resemble that remark completely because I don't know if I said this, but dude, we're on our honeymoon and he's like on the chaise like this. It's 10 in the morning. He's got a pina colada. He's got a cigar. And I looked over and I did this. What in the actual fuck did I just do? And it's not like I just met him. I knew this man for years. And you know what? I did have a love for him. I honestly, what sealed the deal, his family, I still miss them to this minute. And I think that that was what kept me there.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I knew, I mean, it wasn't even it was the Titanic, the Achille Lauro, it was the Hindenburg, it was Chernobyl. And it wasn't even that it was like crazy volatile. It wasn't that. It was that I wasn't there. And I wasn't there because my needs weren't being met.
Right.
But my need to not make a mistake was so crushing. Hat trick, go for it, Jen. But I mean, and that crushed me. And honestly, one of the best things to happen to me in my whole Sharknado. Yes, it was actually like Sharknado. And if Ian Thering would have come along, I probably would have gone off with him. Different story. But the divorce made me grow up.
Yeah.
But P.S., did I ever tell you how we got divorced?
Oh no.
Okay.
Was it a cigar and a pina colada?
No, it was even better than that. So he at this point was in sales. He was selling copiers or kazoos or whatever. And he and I got in this big fight before he went on some trip to somewhere. I mean, it was an epic fight because at this point, I was totally sabotaging everything because I didn't have I knew that I was in a steaming pile of you know what, but I didn't know how to get myself out of it because I didn't want to fail. My parents spent so much money on that damn wedding. Anyway, so I'm at the dance studio, I'm teaching, I go home and I sit down and my cell phone rings and it's him. And I'm like, why is this bastard calling me? We just had a big fight yesterday. I don't even want to talk to him. But I answered and I said, hello. And he said, do you have a minute? And I said, yeah. Why? And he said, well, marriage is hard. I'm moving home with my mom and my dad. I got dumped for an older woman, and it was his mom. Son of a bitch.
Okay, I'm gonna bring this back home. First of all, yeah, okay. You went home to mom. Okay, I'm done with that one. But here's the thing. In an effort for both of us, this faux need, we relinquished the basics.
Absolutely. And the basics were us.
We relinquished food, shelter, clothing, air, water. We didn't give ourselves that space, that air to breathe. There's no way home was a space of
comfort, of safety, of security. It wasn't there.
And that's what happens when you have faux needs. And when you take that step back and you're like, okay, what do I need? And you really, and again, I mean, this Maslow, I'm telling you, it blew my mind. Like when the person who introduced it to me, like I was on my phone and I was like, oh my gosh, how come nobody ever told me about this? This would have made life so much more simple.
But you have to be, you know how it is though. You've got to be in the right, things come to us at the right time. I do believe that. Even as a crazy control freak, I do also believe that we don't hear things until the time to hear them is right.
Correct. And so, again, going back to the beginning, I think that's why it resonated with me so much because we're in this time and all I could think about was the freedom that I had. I got a stimulus check, but I got it really late. I was like, I actually had to research how to get it. And I was like, wow, I was like, there are people hanging on their hinges for this money. And for those of us who are enough to be in the positions that we're in, it's just not a lot of money. It's just not a lot of money.
Right.
And I was one of those people because, yeah, I always owe taxes. And I was one of those people who had to go in and say, yes, I'm legitimate. And can you mail me my check? And I, because there's never a refund going into my bank account. And I was like, wow. I was like, how lucky am I that I'm not hanging on the edge of my seat waiting for this money? And what does that look like? Or people who got it in the form of the debit card, but they weren't really told that they were getting the debit card. So they threw the debit card away, and then they had to reorder the debit card, and then they had to pay for the second debit card. And then, just all of this stuff, fees being taken out. I mean, just all of this craziness that is our country, right? But they were looking for that money for basic needs.
Right.
That's the part that was just so, that's a thing when those basic needs aren't being met. How do you progress to the next level? And when, for those of us who are in a position where our basic needs are and can be met, I want us to think about making good choices. I want us to think about looking at something, it's an assignment. I'm not asking you to be accountable to me. I'm asking you to be accountable for yourself. Is what you're looking at a need or a want? Is what you're looking at. And then are you addressing needs for, when you have those basic needs met, if you're a business owner, are you addressing those needs that will continue to propel you forward? Or are you spinning your wheels, which then in some respects might be depleting your needs?
Well, energetically alone, spinning your wheel, it doesn't nourish you. It doesn't serve you. There's nothing to get out of that but exhaustion.
And are you relying on someone else? Are you falsely relying on someone else to provide you with safety and security? So I'm going to use my marriage as an example. I was relying on a false sense of safety and security because that's what I thought marriage was. I'm like, no, you get married and then you're bonked on the head by the fairy god Mary Mother, and all this stuff that you think it's supposed to be is supposed to be. It was a false sense of security and safety for me. And so are you going into these circumstances with eyes wide open, right? Are you pivoting? Are you shifting? Are you sundialing in a way that will keep you proactive in your basic fundamental needs? Are you assessing and reassessing so that if those needs are met, if those first two levels are met, then you are free to move up the little pyramid so that you're not building on love and relationships. I'm just prefacing, I'm not diving deep, Misty. You're not building on love and relationships with a false bottom.
Indeed. How many of us have built love and relationships on false bottoms? How many of us don't even wear bottoms? You better stop it. You just stop it. All right. So on that note, we are going to break the machine here. We are already over time, so we might as well just break this damn thing. So here's the break the machine for you today, Nikki. I'm slinging this one to you.
Oh wait, I'm doing
it purposes. Well, I mean, I'm just here. I'm going to bring up the topic because I've been thinking.
Would be good.
What does allyship mean to you? Like, who is an ally?
Oh my gosh. Is this in general terms or is this in terms of race?
This is in general terms.
General terms. Right. Allies are people who, first and foremost, my allies are people who understand me, know me, call me on my shit, but support me and hold me up if and when I need it. at this stage in the game, at the age that I'm at, I don't want things sugar coated. You know, if I do a dumb thing, you know what, Nikki, that was a dumb thing. You know, that is what allyship. I don't need you to agree with me.
You don't need cheerleaders.
I don't.
Bye, Pat.
Bye. Thank you.
See you next
I
Thursday.
I don't need you to agree with me. I need perhaps that opposing, perhaps conflicting view. I need to see all aspects of everything around because that's real and that's honest. And I think a lot of progress can be made when people are not so worried about hurting people's feelings. If the intent is pure and good and right and true, what you're saying to me will reflect that level of honesty. Yes, Doug, this is a weekly thing. Please put it on your calendar.
Thursday nights at 7. Absolutely every single week, like for the rest of your whole entire life.
Is he an East Coaster?
No, he's actually in Texas.
Oh, dude, she gave me the wrong time. It's 6.
Oh, damn it. You Midwesterners or wherever Texas is, like
Texas is its own thing.
Texas isn't really even a place to me. I apologize, Doug. You're the best part of Texas as far as I know.
But no, I mean, allyship is to be an ally. Like, you can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. If you're supporting someone, then you're calling them on their shit, but supporting their good, their bad, their ugly, their downtrodden, their celebrations. It's all of it. You can't pick and choose. Don't be a faux friend.
Yeah, and I bring up this term because everybody throws ally around these days.
Yep.
You're ally. We're allies together. We're allying. It's really ally-ish, you know. But at the end of the day, I mean, what the hell does that even mean? I think a lot of people just like words. It's like buzzy. All the cool kids are allies. And
Yes.
to me, my definition of ally is very much like yours. And if you want to swing it back to the race thing, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of my girlfriends from college, a few of my girlfriends from college. And, you know, college, Pittsburgh, we're all sheltered around here, man. Our real city is very different from a lot of places, real cities. And, you know, we had an experience together, all coming from very different places, where we kind of molded into this great little girl group. We had a wonderful fun. Thank you, Wendy. Thanks for coming. And I will tell you that with this group of girls, I mean, have talked about everything. We've been mad at each other. We've been sad at each other. All of these things. Some of us have had babies. Some of us have moved away and come back. But those girls have been my ride or dies for 125 years. I'm looking good for 125. But it's really important, I think, to understand what it is to be an ally and to call somebody or bring somebody into your world as an ally. The allies aren't the ones that are running along behind you with the fan and throwing grapes in your mouth. Those are minions. There's a difference. Your allies are going to be your checks and balances.
Yes.
Your allies are going to say, you know, Nikki, I'm going to say this to you and you're going to be really pissed off. And you know what? Them's the breaks. You should never wear that outfit ever in your life. You should be deported for wearing that outfit. You know, like whatever it is, those are the people that you make your confidants. Those are the people that are your allies. Those are your people that are really in it to make both of you better or all of you better. That to me is an ally. And I think that in this day and age where everything is so buzzwordy, everything is so public and out there and, you know, once again, influenced, I think we have to really be aware of and be thoughtful about who we term an ally. And that can be in any. What was that?
Allies guard your space.
And your heart.
Yeah.
That is an ally.
Yeah.
All All right. Well, I feel like at 8:10 we should probably call it.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, considering the week that we've had, and considering in about 5 minutes I won't even be able to speak English anymore, I'm a little bit whipped. I think it was a great night, though our crowd was a little bit quiet today. So next week we are going to have some questions for you as we dive into the next level on the hierarchy of needs, which is love, I think, love, belonging, something like that. So be prepared, guys. We fully expect class participation next week. If you are going to be an ally, do not make me bring my mug. I will not drink your tears if you are not an ally. No, I'm kidding. In all seriousness, no, though, guys, thank you for coming to play with Nikki and me tonight. So good to see all of you. We do this every Thursday night, 7 p.m. East Coast time, 6 p.m. for all you people in the middle of nowhere. And if you're in Europe, I have no idea what time it is. Lots of luck to you. But remember, we threw this out there the other week. We are considering a time change or maybe a thought bomb or two at a different time when other people can reach out to us. So if you know certain times of the day work better for you than others, okay, Europeans, don't go crazy because you'll never see this girl at 6 a.m. East Coast time. Not gonna, which is 5 a.m. for Nikki. She's probably out on her damn bike at that hour, but whatever. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Send us a message. Let us know what you're thinking, and we will try our best to accommodate.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night.
And